recording. Okay, again, good afternoon sa inyo, Robert, Paulo, and John, and Shine. So last time, I hope you're done with your first assignment, and after this 40-minute session with you, I'll be giving you another assignment in the end of our discussion. So in this discussion, since supposedly tapos niyo na ito, and then so I'll just give you a summary of everything. No, so si Zet. Di ba naatay Zoom na dati? Okay, anyway, so take your time, Zet. So in continuation naman, anyway, as much as possible, I'll be doing recorded video para pwede nyo na maano na lang, ma-review later. So 40-minute naman siya, so I'll just give you very fast and brief na explanation. So I hope klaro na ito sa ano. So last time we discussed about proximate analysis. So as of now, when we say proximate analysis, I just want to zoom muna this one. Hopefully, okay. Okay. Okay, anyways. So this will be the when we say proximate analysis ng food, this is our basis for declaration of the composition of foods, especially in Europe, no? So have you heard of proximate analysis before? Sa inyong high school or first year? Nakadungog na mo? Anyone? If you can just speak or but in any time, no, you may do so for questions and clarification. So yeah, even in Philippines it's very standard, and this is the analysis which is divided into 6 fractions. So meron tayong moisture, ash, crude, protein, ether extract, crude fiber, and nitrogen-free extractives. So usually pag sinabi natin proximate analysis, so meron siyang 6 na analysis that includes that the things that I have mentioned. So paano analyze ang moisture? Of course, pag may loss in weight from drying, which is constant at 100 degrees Celsius. So this has been used satisfactory sa lahat ng foods. But in some foods such as silage, significant losses of volatile material like the short chain fatty acids, and alcohols will also take place. So hindi lang for moisture from water. Therefore, yung mga silages, moisture content can be determined directly by distilling water from the sample under yung toluene naman. So these are somewhat very biochemistry, no? Kasi we're talking about, nag-ulan siya dami. So most probably, marag anong kayo mo dara. So, screenshot ko lang ulit. Okay. Okay, so to continue, so ito yung proximate analysis for those who just came in, no? So again, if you have questions or clarification, you may just, but in ha. So paano naman pag mag-analyze ng ash content? So usually by ignition of a known weight ng food at 550 degrees Celsius, so parang biniburn talaga siya, ginadry. Hindi lang dry or air dry at 100 degrees Celsius na kagaya ng moisture content, but also all carbon has to be removed talaga. And ash is taken to represent the inorganic constituents of the food. So when you say ash content, yun yung inorganic content. So walang carbon. So when you say carbon, of course, yung lahat ng components or lahat ng mostly mga organic compounds, of course, na walang carbon. So the major component ng mga inorganic are yung ng ash is yung silica, material organic origin na material, and phosphorus from proteins, and some loss ng volatile na material in the form naman ng sodium and chloride, potassium, phosphorus, sulfur. So when it is burned or ignited, so this is actually not truly representative of the inorganic material. Lahat ng food, either qualitatively or quantitatively. When we say qualitatively, is to identify kung ano talaga yung ano talaga yung chemical na yon. And when we say quantitatively, ang specific amount nun, no? But it has just to identify kung anong meron, no? So animals especially have a requirement for ash per se, but the individual mineral element it contains and are determined also by what we call the atomic absorption spectrometry. So ito yung mga very recent na mga technology that we are using para ma-analyze natin kung anong mga contents ng ating mga pagkain or food in the animals, no? Next, so we have just identify the moisture content ways of analyzing also the ash content. Now next is the crude protein. So paano ba ito ina-analyze? Of course, from the nitrogen content ng food, and usually minimodify siya, no? Usually devised by Kidal. So if you have if you'll be doing in a soil laboratory analysis, you will always encounter the author Kidal, no? And it has been developed for 100 years ago na. So imagine how many century na siya talaga, no? In this method also, yung food is digested using sulfuric acid na kino-convert ito into ammonia. So lahat ng nitrogen present in the form in nitric and nitrite is yung ammonia is liberated naman by adding sodium hydroxide and digest, distilled, and collected in standard acid. So yung quantity that is determined by titration or by an automated colorimetric method. So this is another device to identify the content again, and that assuming that nitrogen is derived from protein containing mga 16% nitrogen, and i-multiply mo siya by 6.25. So 100 over 16 is an approximate protein value, no, na obtain. So although hindi ito true protein, since yung method determines nitrogen from sources other than protein such as free amino acids, amines, and nucleic acids. So therefore, ang fraction is designated as crude protein kasi hindi siya very specific. Next naman ay ether, no, EE, is also determined by subjecting the food in a continuous extraction with petroleum ether for a defined period. So the residue after evaporation of the solvent is the ether extract. So, also lipids na merong organic acids, alcohol, and pigments. So, itong procedure na ito is method A. The extraction with ether is preceded by hydrolysis ng sample with sulfuric acid, and resultant residue is the acid ether extract in method B. So, yun yung EE or ether extract. So, for carbohydrate naman, meron siyang dalawang fractions, yung crude fiber and the NFE or the nitrogen-free extractive. So, I don't know if you have seen some kind of analysis somewhere in a publication, in a research study, or even in the label in the food. May nakita na kayong mga approximate analysis na nakasulat? Any of you? How about Shine? Nakakita na ka something approximate analysis, Shine?
Yes din, sa feeds din.
Sa feeds, no? So, very good. So, ito yung mga ating pinag-uusapan. So, ano yung mga approximate analysis? So, from the word approximate, parang ano lang siya kanang approximate, no? Ganon. So, that's carbohydrates. So, therefore, also, itong NFE is determined by, I know that F is determined by subjecting residual food from the ether extraction to successive treatments with a boiling acid. So, ganun lang yung kanyang and alkali of defined concentration. So, therefore, the organic residue is crude fiber. So, that's for crude fiber, by the way. Sorry. And the sum amount of the moisture, ash, crude protein, ether extract, and crude fiber in grams per kilogram is subtracted in 1,000. So, ang yung difference na yun yung NFE or nitrogen-free extractives. So, ito yung heterogeneous mixture lang, lahat ng components na hindi na siya na-determine. Kasi as I have told you, it's not the true representative as shown here. So the crude fiber fraction contains maybe cellulose, lignin, hemicellulose, but not necessarily yung whole niya, no? Amounts ng present. So, in the food. So, meron siya ding cell wall, iba't ibang lang siya, no? Estimation. So, it's just, as I have said, the word pala is estimation. So, hindi talaga siya yung in tuto, no? Although, gagamit ka na ng spectrometer or metry. So, hindi pa rin yung very specific. Kasi meron din tayong mga modern analytical methods na talagang in terms of quantity, in terms of quality, malalaman mo talaga siya how much of this proteins or carbohydrates or ano ba itong mga nitrogen-free extractive fractions, including starch, sugars, fructans, pectins, organic acids, pigments, and a lot, no? So, ano itong mga modern analytical methods natin? So, in recent years, since this is just an estimation, so it has been criticized actually, no? Na hindi siya precise and have been replaced by other analytical procedures. So, especially sa crude fiber, no, and nitrogen-free extractives. Since newer methods have been developed para ma-characterize talaga yung food in terms of methods. And this way, it's an attempt to use yung mga analytical techniques na talaga i-quantify mo yung potential supply ng nutrients from the food. For example, yung sa ruminants, analytical methods are developed that describe the supply of nutrients for rumen microbes and post-digested enzyme system talaga. So, ito yung example ng mga food measurements sa rumen parameters and absorbed nutrients. So, in terms of total nitrogen, solubility, degradability, no? Ito yung kanyang mga moisture, protein, and so on. So, ito yung proposed proposed na model for the characterization ng foods for ruminants. So, lahat ng mga capitalized ng mga word acronyms are shown here, like for AA, it's amino acids, then ADIN or acid detergent insoluble nitrogen, and so on. So, yun yung mga example. So, sa starch naman, so ano itong mga components in food? So, we have starch and sugar. So, yung alam naman natin na what are starch and sugars, no? So, meron tayong mga quantifying non-structural carbohydrates. I'm sorry kasi dito sa amin umuulan, kaya siguro pangit ang background. So, mga non-structural carbohydrates siya. So, mainly starches and sugar. So, paano ito i-determine? So, through colorimetric after combination ng reagent na unknown. So, starch is also determined by dilute acid hydrolysis ng sample by polarimetric determination para ma-release yung sugar. So, meron siyang idea of the total sugars in figure na nag-originate from hydrolyzed starch plus the simple sugar sa ating food. So, sugars are determined by extracting also with ethanol and then acidifying the filtrate and taking a second polarimeter reading naman. And the starch content is eventually calculated from the difference between the two readings multiplied by a known factor for starch source example, and also can be determined enzymically. For example, yung cereal starch, i-convert natin sa glucose using alpha amylase and by amyloglucosidase, and then glucose is measured using the glucose oxidase peroxidase reagent. So that's for starch and sugars, no? Hopefully, hindi ito bago. If bago man, then eventually, you will familiarize with all of these terms kasi these are all analytical methods. So fiber naman, yung mga alternative procedures natin for fiber have been already developed ng tinatawag na neutral detergent fiber. So, ano ito? Residue after extraction ng boiling neutral solutions of sodium lauryl sulfate and ethylene amine tetraacetic acid or EDTA. So, usually ito yung mga chemicals na ginagamit for fiber is mainly of lignin, cellulose, hemicellulose, and usually for plant cell wall material. So, yung analytical method for the neutral detergent fiber was actually originally devised sa mga forages, no? Kasi usually mga forages yung kinakain ng mga ruminants, no? But it can also be used for starch-containing foods provided that an amylase treatment is included in the procedure. And so, nitrogen-free extractive fraction, the term non-structural carbohydrates is sometimes used sa fraction obtained by subtracting yung amount ng by gram per kilogram ng crude protein, ether extract, ash, and neutral detergent fiber from 1,000. So, itong ADF or acid detergent fiber is also the residue after refluxing naman ng 0.5 methylsulfuric acid and cetryl 3-methylammonium bromide. So, it will represent the crude lignin and the cellulose fraction of the plant material, including silica. So, ito yun naman classification ng forage fraction using detergent methods of one source. So, we have cell contents. We can have lipids, sugars, and so on. But cell wall constituents, we have even soluble in acid detergent and soluble in detergent fiber. So, ito yung mga hemicellulose, fiber-bound cellulose, lignin, liquefied nitrogen, and silica. Okay. So, another one, ito pa rin yung mga ADF, no? I guess I have to show you. Okay, so hopefully matapos na natin ito. So I'll just be short as much as possible. But again, let me just So do you have any questions so far? Ha? Mga pangutana, Christine, Aris, Cherry, Seth. Yung ka Seth, ano ka na Seth? Na naka-Zoom?
Yes, ma'am din.
Okay, very good. So, for those who came in late or for those who will miss this meeting, since hindi naman talaga part of the requirement yung attendance, but then maganda pa din may additional points kayo. So I really appreciate joining with the class para mag-interaction naman tayo, no? May kasama din ako sa video. So, in continuation, so ang ADF is actually ginagamit sa forages, no? And statistical correlation ng food digestibility. So sa UK or United Kingdom, ito yung ginagamit na unmodified, especially the duration of boiling and acid strength. So must increase siya. No? The term modified acid detergent fiber or MADF, ito yung determination na ginagamit nila. Now, the acid detergent lignin is also involves the preparation of acid detergent fiber, mga preparatory step, and then treated with 72% sulfuric acid, which dissolves cellulose and determines crude lignin, including butene. So, Van Su's methods of fiber analysis is also used in food analysis ng ruminants, which was developed in Cornell University. So, sa mga monogastric and particularly human nutrition ng dietary fiber is often used, and attention also is focused sa importance sa health. So, when we say DF or dietary fiber, ito yung lignin plus those polysaccharides that cannot be digested by monogastric endogenous enzymes. So only the ruminant animals will do. So my internet connection is not stable. So initially, yung epidemiological studies na lack of DF, the constipation, gut and bowel disorders, cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes are the causes of such diseases are yung mga multifactorial, in some cases it's not on the dietary fiber per se, no? Kasi the beneficial effects ng other aspect of the diet also is like, for example, antioxidants. So then DF is the major component na related talaga sa good health, no? Especially sa humans and equally with animals. So DF is difficult and usually ranging through physiological, botanical, which derive from cell walls of plants and poorly digested. So when we say dietary fiber, so very, very broad lang siya, no? And usually, it refers to the cell wall. And kinakain nga natin, no? Or botanically non-starch polysaccharides of plant cell walls. Or chemically, it's the NSP and lignin, nutritional, physiological, or not digested in the small intestine. So, yung mga DF definitions are carbohydrates, polysaccharides, oligosaccharides, and lignin resistant to digestion in the small intestine but may be fermented in the large intestine and promote beneficial physiological effects. So, ayun yun siya, no? And in fact, as I have said earlier, ang dietary fiber is very beneficial not only to humans but also equally to animals, no? And usually it's made up of carbohydrates, no? And it's been specify here ano mga lignin. No? Ang lignin nga like for asparagus, it's very high in lignin content, but sometimes it's not good for, it's too much for a monogastric animals. So, ayun. So, and resistant to digestion nga, no? Mahirap silang i-digest, so kailangan nila ng mga chemical or enzymes. So, it may be also fermented in the large intestine. So, DF is actually difficult to determine in the laboratory, and in most food along with lignin, they are considered to represent major components ng ating cell wall. And for measurement, meron tayong dalawang category, maybe. And we have sorry for that. So meron tayong itong box 1.1, the kernel net carbohydrates and protein system. So the fractionation of the carbohydrates by analysis is currently mostly fully developed sa kernel, no? Like this one, no? And this is based on really nagtaas.
Dili, kaya ko interest.
Nagklasiko. So going back to our topic, so I'm running out of time. So 10 minutes na lang pa. So if you have questions or clarification, just butt in, okay? So but before we finish our time, let me again do a screenshot. Yeah. So wala na may mga pangutana or clarification. Regarding what we are talking. So just bear with it. Maana naman mo no sa mga terms na very new to you. It's really part as an in animal science. Part yun na siya sa animal science. Yung mga analysis. So again, kung wala tayong mga questions or clarification muna for the meantime. Yan. So, ito yung mga fractions. Total carbohydrates. So, ang 100 is minus lang natin sa crude protein plus fat and plus ash. No? And so on. For non-structural carbohydrates, sugar, NSC, starch, pectins, and so on, and lignin. So, this carbohydrates as a whole is classified according to their degradation rate by rumen microbes like fraction A, they are fast, no? So compromising the sugars. Yung fraction B1 naman, intermediate lang, like the starch, pectin, and beta-glucans. And the fraction B2, very slow siya. So cell wall material represented by lignin-free and DFN. Fraction C naman, hindi talaga siya nadadigest. Unavailable siya, no? In the cell wall in the form of lignin. So, we also have categories na with slightly, no, depending variation depending on the research laboratory. So meron tayong ginagamit na enzymatic gravimetric method. So ano ito? Mga details ng polysaccharides. So ito yung ginagamit ng Association of Official Analytical Chemists for Total Dietary Fiber. So if you're going to read a lot of analysis, like for example, analysis ng mga different components ng foods and feeds. So usually, ang pina-follow is ni AOAC, no? Or the Association of Official Analytical Chemists. So, for total dietary fiber samples, ay na-gelatinized siya by heating and treated with enzymes. So, para ma-remove natin yung starch and protein. So, yung total dietary fiber is precipitated with ethanol and dried and weighed. And another method is enzymic chromatographic method. So ito yung identifying the individual carbohydrates in the dietary NSP, and tinatawag siyang English method. Baby, por favor, mahulog ka. Which identify also the individual carbohydrates in the that determine the total soluble and insoluble dietary fiber. So measurement of NSP by this method involves removal of starch with the enzyme polyulanase and alpha amylase, no? And after precipitation with ethanol. So ito yung ano, tawag doon? After precipitation, then yun, no? So these are the methods how to do the enzymatic chromatographic. Sorry, na classic to. Okay, tawag lago sa babay. So, the individual monomeric neutral sugar constituents are also determined by gas liquid chromatography. So, have you seen this equipment? A gas liquid chromatography. No? So, next time maybe I can show you a photo, no? And if I hope I can remember, but kasi right now in Davao, I don't know if meron tayo kasi pang-measure lang yan ng mga ethylene. So maybe UP Mintal, meron sila. So anyway, it's just like a chamber na parang oven, no? And sa loob naman yan, if you're going to search the gas, so part of your assignment na lang, you search for the ano itong gas liquid chromatography. So ito yung pag-measure ng mga gas, actually a lot can be measured, no? And separate determination ng uronic acids. So ayun, lahat ay total NSP, no? Carbohydrates, so specific solids and so on. So ang mga both soluble and insoluble fibrous materials sa human diet, no, has already been very carefully na specified, no, whether water soluble sila or lower serum cholesterol and insoluble NSP, or meron siyang increases fecal bulk and speed up the rate of colonic transit. So this effect is thought to be beneficial in preventing number ng diseases, including cancer of the bowel. So if you have allergies and for example, kailangan mo detox ang tawag, no, sa tao. So yung maraming insoluble NSP. So yun yung maganda sa bowel movement. So meron din tayong gut of pigs microbial fermentation, volatile fatty acids. So we have 3 minutes na lang, kaya medyo bibilisan ko, no. So ito yung mga under NSP, no. So ito yung example, sorry for this. Example ng fiber components ng mga bawat plants. So you can see that in stem of ramenose, fucose, arabinose, xylose, mannose. So lahat yan mga carbohydrates, of course, but in fiber. So lastly, the minerals. So we have a lot of minerals, of course, no, in our periodic table elements. So those are the minerals na we can find, and these are measured using analytical techniques such as spectroscopy. So for more information, you can just search, no, in the Google para makita niyo yung picture kung ano yung atomic absorption spectroscopy. So kasi in picture, ano lang yan, again, show, kung hindi rectangular, square, no, but sa loob niyan, meron yang engineering technique. So meron tayong flame emission spectroscopy, and this measures radiation from solution to the sample heated. So marami siyang gamit. Of course, these are all for minerals. And atomic absorption spectroscopy is in acid solution of sample heated in flame and vaporized atoms na nag-absorb ng energy na nag-bring up ng transition to higher energy level. So in that way, ma-characterize mo yung anong mineral siya. No? We also have inductively coupled plasma emission spectroscopy under this plane emission. So, you can see na hanggang 10,000 degrees Celsius, hinihit up siya, diba? So, paano naman yung mga amino acids, fatty acids, and sugar? So, meron din tayong Kidal method and mga alternatives ng Dumas method ang ginagamit ngayon. So, or combusted in pure oxygen. So, ito yung carbon dioxide, water absorbing columns and oxidants are converted into nitrogen. Yan. So, what else? Proteins naman for, yeah. And also we have high performance liquid chromatography. It's a very high technique or gas liquid chromatography na ginagamit for vitamins A, E, B, 6, and K. No? So, very, ito na yung mga high-tech na ginagamit natin. And for more info, pag gusto nyo malaman yung anong engineering type ito, so you can always just check, no, online. We have specific method like the ion exchange chroma and the reverse phase chroma. So, sa proteins food naman ng ruminants, we use the spectroscopy. No, near infrared reflectance spectroscopy. Ayun. So, we're less than a minute. So, anytime mapuputol na tayo, ha? And more methods such